Welcome to lecture 1 on augmented and virtual reality system. पहले हम जानेंगे कि different terms ARVR जो हम सुनते हैं, what are those? Along with that, there is something called as MR. Now MR is not mentally retarded; it's mixed reality. Then DR, then diminishing reality, not doctor, and then there is something called as XR. So where X can be any of the other letters like A, V, M, and D. Let's try and understand what is difference between different kind of realities. So first thing is augmented reality. Now in augmented reality, what will happen is something which is like a donut. Here you can see a donut will appear onto your mobile screen along with you. So that is where augmented object is in the real world. So this is a real world and an object has arrived into your real world. That is what we called as augmented reality. Now you might have watched a movie Matrix. So in Matrix movie, everything was virtual. So it's not a real world, it's a virtual world. Even whatever games you play becomes your virtual world. So in virtual reality, you wear something like HMDs, head mount devices, given some joysticks, and they will put you into a virtual world. So you will see a dinosaur in front of you. The entire world around you is all animation, and only you are the person as a first person view go inside that virtual world. So this is the difference between augmented reality and a virtual reality. Sometimes they called it as augmented virtuality, AV. Then a complete virtual environment is what we called VR. A mixed reality is a combination of AR and VR, and then extended reality, which combines everything going from real environment to the virtual environment. We will see that in one of the next cases where the goggles given to you are transparent and then there are objects overlaid onto it, something like a Google Glass. So let's try and understand a simplest augmented reality concept. So augmented reality is an overlay of computer generated content. So something which is overlaid, obviously overlaid means onto the screen. So augmented reality cannot happen without a phone. So or any other screen in your hand. So on real world so that it can interact with the environment. Now, this interaction is in real time. So AR should be very fast processing. For example, यहाँ पे आप एक example देख पा रहे हो translate app का, where I guess this is written in Russian, and in real time when you open a mobile phone and try to write or watch it and apply a Russian to English translation, you will see that in real time it translate the words. और आप कभी अगर foreign country घूमने जाओ तो this is one of the most important application you will need. It's called Google Translator, and with the help of AI, it actually translates the letters in real time. Not only that, it tries to maintain the background color, the foreground color, and fonts. So that is an amazing AR app you should all try. We will give one session on that, trying different AR apps. There, the Google Translate is what I want you to install in your phone. Next comes the virtual reality. So virtual reality encompasses all immersive. So basically all immersive means you are immersed into a virtual experience. For that it is mandatory that you wear a head mounted device so that you don't get anything with respect to the real world. There has to be complete black surface and then there are two screens, one in each of your eye, and then there should be a 360 video content. So in the virtual reality, if you look upwards, you should see something already there. So the virtual world is created with 360-degree point of view. Then it's a purely synthetic content, that is, it's a completely computer generated view where you go inside, see the joystick are represented as hands in the virtual world. And this screen is not required at all because the person can see everything in HMD, which is a head mount device. And sometimes virtual reality to give you complete immersive experience, generates a 3D sound, which is connected to you as a earphones. Then comes augmented virtuality. So this is where you can see yourself into a 3D world, but along with the your own like not a first person view. So you can see yourself into a 3D world. So that is what we call augmented virtuality. Now this is like a third person view, so that when you walk, you can see yourself into a virtual world. And in augmented reality, you can see the animated characters popping out into your real world. So augmented virtuality both implies to the real objects and can be projected into a virtual world. So real objects, when you take it into your virtual world, they become a augmented virtuality. Then comes the mixed reality system. So mixed reality system is something like this. You can see your entire office as it is, and then there is a display where you can communicate something which you see in movies, but they can only happen through a transparent glasses. So when you have head-mounted devices, or we sometimes call it as VR glasses, they needs to be transparent to generate a MR content. Now, why the transparency is needed? So that you can see the real world as well as the overlap content through LCD, which is operation called as overlay. ओवरले मतलब क्या होता है कि आपको जो स्क्रीन दिख रहा है उसके ऊपर कुछ नया इमेज इम्प्रिंट कर देना. So these all things are overlaid onto your actual views. So mixed reality is a overlay of synthetic content, which is a computer generated graphics that is anchored to the interact with an objects of the real world. So mixed reality experiences both occlusion and computer generated object simultaneously into your physical environment. Then comes a very interesting concept of DR. अब जनरली डीआर जो होता है उसमें क्या करते हैं, दे यूज द पोस्ट प्रोसेसिंग टेक्निक. सो दिस इज द इनपुट इमेज एंड यू कैन सी इन द आउटपुट इमेज it's diminished. It's the concept which is shown in movie like Mr. India or anything like Hollow Man, where a person is invisible. This time, diminishing reality allows you to diminish the objects as well. So, diminishing reality works allows the user with the hardware devices and software applications to remove or diminish the visible real life objects from the view. And this can only happen if there are some texture at the background and at the foreground. So if you don't have any texture, it's impossible to map this texture. Then you cannot diminish a entire thing. So it should have a texture. So this is a really great example where there is a texture in the background and texture on the floor, and now these two objects can be totally removed. So this is where the diminishing reality has a large scope even in the future, because currently it is being limited by a texture, and human intelligence can foresee without a texture, which is not possible for the computer. Next comes the extended reality. Now, extended reality is basically XR refers to all real and virtual environments generated by computer. So X in XR is basically replaceable by any of the digit like D or V or A, etc. So basically, for example, you wear a glasses, and this is a futuristic glass. Soon they will be your, what we can say, might be your generation might be using it to get the directions, navigations. You will have overlaid objects. Right now, everything is on mobile phone along with the camera. You can still use it, but soon the screens will be transparent displays in front of your eyes. We might wear it them as a glass, or I don't know. Sometimes they might put those displays into your eyes, and that's what we say glasses or contact lenses with AR, and that is the new generation technology what we are working with called transparent displays. Then to summarize all the things is you have a real environment where direct view or reality is there, which we called RE. Then comes AR, augmented reality, where the virtual objects are put into a real environment. Then comes augmented virtuality, where real objects are put into a virtual world. And then comes the virtual reality, where you are immersed completely into a digital environment. So this is what we call RE, AR, AV, and VR. And the combination of these two is what we call mixed reality. Let's start with the topic virtual reality today. So today's lecture will be focused on the topic virtual reality. Now, virtual reality is basically all about wearing the head-mounted devices, something like this, with some bands to attach it properly or firmly to the head. Now, one of the important thing, during the lockdown, you might got bored, but with the help of VR, you could have roamed around without fearing for the viruses like Corona. So, what is a virtual reality? It's a computer-generated technology that replicates the environment, which can be a real, imaginated, or simulated world for the user interaction. So, basically, you wear something onto your head and you are into that particular environment. Now, remember, here the word is real world. So, what could have been done is you can take a screenshot or 360-degree camera views around your area, and then you can roam around in that area with the help of virtual reality. So, basically, if you go to the Google Maps, you will see a yellow man, something like this. I don't know, I have a very bad drawing, but a yellow man which you can drag drop onto a location, and then he can show you a 360 view around it. Especially it's banned in India, but if you try to do it for Singapore or USA, it's visible, and you can put this yellow man and roam around in Singapore or USA wearing a virtual reality headset, or even you can do it on your computer also. So today you look for a yellow man into your Google Maps and see how this particular virtual reality with real objects works. Next comes the computer generated or multisensory simulation of artificial environment. Now here the lot of scope for hardware engineer is there. See, if you see this particular headset, you will see all these kind of reflective panels. Now these are called IR mirrors. What is this IR mirror? This is a mirror for only the infrared light. For human, you just see the some kind of black spots created, but these are nothing but mirrors generated only for IR light. What is the help of this is basically you must have a IR transmitter somewhere, which I can see at the back over here. There might be one more over here, which is a sharp light of infrared transmitted throughout the room. And then the person moves, all these points glows, and whichever point is glowing, according to that, it can track down the entire scene, and your moments are captured and then displayed in real time. In real time is a very important statement over here. So in real time, if you move your hand, you don't want the firefighting operation should happen. It's a game, but should happen after certain lag. So a very high computing power is one of the most important requirement for the virtual reality situation. यहाँ पे कुछ वो फायर फाइटिंग की ट्रेनिंग ले रहा है शायद, और ये बंदा जो है वो अलग अलग ऑपरेशन करके चला रहा है. सो दैट इज अ फ्यूचर, लाइक देर इज अ लॉट ऑफ स्कोप फॉर द ट्रेनिंग इंडस्ट्री. लाइक जैसे फायर फाइटिंग हो गया, तो फायर फाइटर्स को एक्चुअल आग में भेजने की जगह पहले आप उनका परफॉर्मेंस वर्चुअल रियलिटी में चेक कर लो. इफ दैट परफॉर्मेंस इज गुड, then you can send him to the actual situation. So special application trainings like military shootouts or firefighting, these are to be trained in virtual reality. आपने बहुत सालों से नासा ये नाम सुना होगा, नासा या फिर इसरो. यहाँ पे क्या करते हैं, पायलट को हमेशा आउटर स्पेस में भेजना पॉसिबल नहीं होता. सो वी कैन पुट देम इनटू अ वर्चुअल रियलिटी, गिव देम अ सिमिलर एनवायरनमेंट टू द actual space, and then you can train those pilots over there. Similarly, cockpits for the airplane is where these are the old generation simulators. In 1980s they were generated, and they are still being used. At that time it was not called as VR, but they were calling it as a simulators. But now the term has coined, VR came back, and now everybody is calling as a VR simulator. Now, what are the main characteristics of a VR? Please remember, it's all computer generated. So virtual reality. In the name itself, it's virtual, it's not real. So it's all computer generated. It has to be a artificial, sometimes it has to be a 3D. So these are the three main characteristics of a VR. Now let us try and see what are the different applications of virtual reality. The first thing is live sea demo using virtual reality. तो आप पानी के अंदर स्कूबा डाइविंग बहुत लोगों के बकेट लिस्ट में होगा. The easiest way to complete this is go to the virtual reality scuba diving. Now इसमें सबसे बेस्ट थिंग क्या है कि जिन लोगों को सांस लेने में प्रॉब्लम है या कान में पानी जाने से प्रॉब्लम होती है, उन लोगों के लिए ये बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है विदाउट रिस्किंग देयर लाइफ. सो बेसिकली कान के पर्दे अगर वीक है और आप जब ज्यादा नीचे जाते हो समुंदर के, तो इट क्रिएट्स लॉट ऑफ प्रेशर ऑन टू योर ईयर ड्रम्स एंड इट माइट बर्स्ट, एंड दैट्स व्हाई it is always fail safe to go into the virtual reality for enjoying the undersea experience. One of the major advantage of simulations like this is creating virtual environment of inside the water. Everything is blue, so that is easier. And then getting those actual details depends on how good your programmer is. And generally, there is a team of 1,000 software developers or graphic design team who is developing all this. This particular scene is from Sony. सोनी प्ले स्टेशन किसी ने अगर खेला होगा तो उसमें वर्चुअल वर्ल्ड्स करके गेम होता है. विथ 360 डिग्री हेडसेट you can enjoy the underwater, what we can say, exploration in a virtual reality. Next is very important application, और इस एप्लीकेशन की वजह से ही वीआर इंडस्ट्री सर्वाइव हो रही है. इट्स कॉल्ड गेमिंग. नाउ इस तरह की वर्चुअल गेमिंग इज बेटर फॉर द पीपल because it also generates a exercise like movements, body movements, but you can do it for very long. Roughly time estimation for any virtual reality game should not exceed 12 hours. So you can play at max up to 12 hours and then you have to take a rest. I know computer games, some people play it for full day. They start in the morning and they finish the last level by the night. But in virtual reality, 12 hours is like a milestone. Nobody could have crossed it because it creates the dizziness, and also it creates a strain onto your eye, and your brain is actually confused because only two of the sensors, like audio sensors and visual, are into the virtual world, whereas body skin temperature, your tongue, and all other sensory inputs are into your real world, and that might damage your nervous system. So it is not recommended that you play VR games for very long. This is a example where there is a plastic move which can give you a haptic feedback, so that you feel some vibrations also, but other than that remaining sensors are still into your real world. So either we have to create a VR experience which can take everything, like if you are feeling a hot inside your virtual world, and if your real room temperature is like 16 degrees, it makes no sense. So it should actually change the temperature of the room along with your virtual environment, and we will see all those 9D effects later in the part of the course, how you can put your entire body into a virtual environment. So gaming is one of the most important application. I guess VR, अगर आपके पास PS4 already है, so this kit will cost you around 24,000 along with the camera, PlayStation Eye, the headset, and two joysticks which are motion sensor joystick connected via a Bluetooth. द अदर एप्लीकेशंस ऑफ वीआर, हम सिर्फ गेमिंग के बारे में सीखते हैं, तो टॉप नॉन गेमिंग वीआर एप्लीकेशंस क्या है हम पहले जान लेते हैं. फर्स्ट थिंग इज इंडस्ट्रियल डिजाइन. विल गो वन बाय वन इनटू द डिटेल. पर कोई आपको डिजाइन अगर 3D में देखने मिले तो आप खुश हो जाते हो, तो आपको उसको अगर वर्चुअल वर्ल्ड में दिखा दिया जाए तो यू कैन एक्चुअली फील इट, कितना बड़ा होगा, क्या साइज होगा, कैसे दिखेगा, विदाउट एक्चुअली मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इट. Then very big application is in automobile industry. Now we will see that application also, where the cars beforehand will be presented to the users, and user can say how they are feeling about this car, and there could be a virtual environment seats where they can feel the car. without actually building a car. Very important application, as told you earlier, also industrial safety. This is the biggest market player or the game changer, what we can say. There is a lot of requirement in this, and it will remain for next 10 years. So when you are passing out, this might be one of the areas you should look for your job. That is VR industrial safety training. नाउ इसमें हर तरह की रिक्वायरमेंट है, जैसे मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग हो गया टू बिल्ड दोस सेटअप्स like actuators and moments. Then there is a lot of electronics requirement to build these HMDs and haptic feedback and Bluetooth connections and everything. And then there is a whole lot of opportunity for computer graphic designer, computer IT students to generate basically the graphics which will be used for the safety training. Then there is a huge scope of physics graduates who can generate the actual world physics for the people to simulate. जैसे आपने बॉल अगर जमीन पे फेंका तो it should bounce. It's all physics. So physical phenomena should be represented inside your VR. या फिर आपको सब फिजिक्स के रूल अंदर फॉलो नहीं हो रहे वीआर में, ऐसे दिखने लगेगा, तो you will feel dizzy, and basically your brain cannot accept those things. So from the birth you are seeing when the ball is thrown onto the floor, it should bounce back. पर अगर वीआर प्रोग्रामर में उसमें फिजिक्स इंक्लूड नहीं किया, so it might stick to the floor or go through the floor, and that might create a very serious damage to your thinking system. So that's why physics simulators are required. And finally, telecom engineers are also required because there is a lot of work going on into the wireless HMDs, or even those Bluetooth sticks are already there. But along with that, nowadays Wi-Fi or ESP protocol sticks are required, and there is a lot of scope for wireless communication engineering with those small antennas and multi-device location. Currently, HMD सारे wired है, or they can go only up to 10 meters from their computer graphics generator. So huge scope in this industry. Next comes the healthcare. This is another very important industry for VR, because आप जब ब्रेन खोलोगे तो असल में ओरिजिनल ब्रेन खोल के इंसान की डेथ कर सकते हो आप. सो इफ यू नीड अ ट्रेनिंग, हेल्थ केयर कुड बी वन ऑफ द इम्पोर्टेंट प्लेसेस वेयर द वीआर ट्रेनिंग इज रिक्वायर्ड. सेकेंड थिंग इज, आप बॉडी के अंदर विजुअलाइज नहीं कर सकते, पर अगर आपको वर्चुअल रियलिटी में एक बॉडी दी जाए विच यू कैन कट ओपन एंड यू कैन सी ऑल द पार्ट्स विच आर स्टिल इन फंक्शनल, which is not possible with the dead bodies, correct? And not possible with the live human also. So if you need to see without bleeding how your heart is pumping, you can't do that. You can do that with the heavy cost of MRI and CT, but still VR could be the easier solution for those kind of problems. Then finally, the tourism and hospitality, which I already told you. Let's say before coming to the hotel, if the guest gets a virtual tour of the hotel, how the hotel is, then people will be very happy to book, or they might not come to your hotel if it is messy. Then for tourism, people would like to travel on their own. They should know the route where to go for when they arrive at the place. And there is a lot of tourists who are doing a virtual tour, and then they are actually visiting the place. So they don't need a map for that area. So person giving a tour of a virtual kitchen. So this is where a broker comes into the picture. अभी क्या करते हैं, ब्रोकर आपको घर दिखाने लेके जाते हैं, तो घर में कोई ना कोई जो पहले का ओनर है या फिर टेंडेंट है, वो अगर अवेलेबल नहीं है तो यू कांट सी द न्यू हाउस. सो जनरली ये ब्रोकर लोग के लिए वर्चुअल रियलिटी और वर्चुअल टूर अगर इंस्टेब्लिश कर दिया जाए, so it will be great for them. They have to just visit the house once, and then they can keep on giving the virtual tour to this house multiple time to the multiple people. So this is one of the very important application. किसी को अगर स्टार्टअप इसमें शुरू करना है तो they can, क्योंकि ब्रोकर वैसे भी कुछ 10% ऑफ द कॉस्ट लेते हैं, और सॉरी 1% ऑफ द कॉस्ट. अभी कुछ कुछ जगह 2% भी हो गया है. तो यू कैन इमेजिन मुंबई में घरों की प्राइस ही इतनी है करोड़ में, कि उसके 1 और 2% भी 10 से 20 लाख होते हैं just for showing the houses. So why not give a virtual tour and get into that industry? There is a lot of money and there is no engineering involved. So there is a lot of scope for the what we call brokers, estate agents, where you can land up and you can start a startup based on the virtual reality estate agency or something like that. Then yeah, this is another example where you can give a outside tour कि वो पर्सन को वहां जाए बगैर अगर बाहर से दिख जाए कि घर बाहर से कैसा है और सब कुछ. अभी इतना बड़ा बंगलो तो कोई खरीद नहीं पाता, पर लेट्स अस्यूम ये वैसे भी वर्चुअल रियलिटी डेमो ही है. सो यू कैन शो द आउटसाइड रियल एस्टेट डेमो यूजिंग द थिंग. Next is military training. This is very important application. Military training में in sync VR होना जरूरी है. So you can see the backpack with the heavily powered computer and power source, and then all the soldiers are doing a what we can say co-op mission where they all have to communicate together, and at the same time there is lot of HMDs and projections are generated around. There is a haptic feedback, the motion sensor. इससे सोल्जर्स की परफॉर्मेंस ड्यूरिंग द वॉर चेक की जा सकती है, और फिर सोल्जर का रैंक और उसको कहाँ भेजना है ये सब डिसाइड किया जा सकता है. ऑल द डिसीजंस कैन बी सिमुलेटेड, और ये सब करने वाले इंजीनियर्स तो इनके लेवल के भी ऊपर के होने चाहिए, so that they can generate those situations. So there is a lot of scope of deep learning engineering there, and people are working on this area, and huge money involved for the military training. The only thing is it has to be very confidential. As we know, all the matters which are related to the military are already very confidential. And basically, training to the military officers is one of the important application. द मेन रीजन इज पहले क्या किया करते थे, डमीज को खड़ा कर दिया करते थे और अलग अलग सिचुएशन ग्राउंड्स बना के सोल्जर को भेज दिया करते थे, पर उसमें सोल्जर हर्ट होने के चांसेस तो है ही. लॉट ऑफ एमो वेर वेस्टेड इन गिविंग देम द एक्चुअल गन्स, एंड बेसिकली one of the training guns were not as good as the actual warfare guns. और इसी तरह से जो सिमुलेटर पे ट्रेनिंग होती है, they are more close to the reality. That is what they say. And also the communication and everybody's performance was not monitored. वहाँ पे जो गुरु होगा या जो मॉनिटर होगा, बड़ा ऑफिसर, उसके बायसिंग पे सोल्जर की परफॉर्मेंस गेज की जाती थी. whereas virtual reality में everything is computerized and everything has to be fair. तो अगर ग्रेड जीरो का ऑफिसर भी सबसे बेस्ट परफॉर्म करता है, तो कंप्यूटर कैन गिव हिम द क्रेडिट विच इज नॉट पॉसिबल विद द human system. So that's why to bring the transparency, VR is also very important for the military training. Then you can see here is a lady showing a car. अब ये असल में यहाँ कार नहीं है, ये बंदा जो देख रहा है उसका बस विजुअल इम्पैक्ट हमको दिखाया गया है through computer graphics, and this lady cannot see the actual car, so she can see it onto the screen. So what this fellow is looking is at the car, and she's trying to sell this car to that fellow, and the car can be seen in the virtual reality, and then he can open that car or do whatever he wants to do with the car. Next comes the like I said, medical training. So medical training में ये बंदा उसका डॉक्टर दोनों ने HMD पहन रखा है. So this is more correct visualization of VR. Obviously they both will see a different angles, so that's why there are multiple monitors, and then this person is trying to teach a brain surgery to a guy, and then there are other readouts from this silicone model. ये असल में ह्यूमन का ही एग्जैक्ट रिप्रेजेंटेशन करने की कोशिश करते हैं, and then in virtual reality he is trying to take out the tumor with the help of the tweezers. Next, basically this application is for the training and fitness purpose. So basically you create a system which gives you a haptic feedback or measure the pressure onto your feet. Like if you are gymming or training for the sports activity, your entire performance can be monitored. How much pressure did you apply? And this basically, this lady is getting trained into a virtual reality. You can see a very big brand in virtual reality. जैसे Intel होता है अपने computers में, वैसे Oculus होता है for the VR. देन वी फॉर रिमूवल ऑफ फेयर. बहुत सारे लोगों को हाइट का फेयर रहता है, फोबिया रहता है. So you can see one of the lady is wearing a YU headset and try to. So this is the view what she's seeing, and she's trying to get trained herself and experience basically facing the fear, and that is one of the very important application. Without hurting anybody, I can actually put her onto a virtual environment, and she is feeling that she is on a height, but she is actually not, and that is safe also. So here is one more example for removal of fear. This fellow is trying to save a cat, I guess, and there is a what we can say real world cat, and this is what he's seeing in the virtual reality, and this guy is going to save her. So these are some of the applications which are very important for the VR industry. Some people are basically what they call ghost. They are afraid of them for the dark, and they can face the ghost. And if you are familiar with the ghost, they don't fear you. So every day, if somebody is trying and scare you into your virtual reality, over a period of time, your brain gets trained to such activities, and then you are not feared of any dark or any ghost-looking like activities in the physical phenomena. So there is a VR hunt, what we call Hunt VR 1505, where there is a facing your fear game, and it will also test your heartbeats and at the same time brain activities so that you don't get any medical problems while facing the fears. So you are, at the same time we say heart patients should not do these kind of games. The reason being they might get so afraid that they might receive a heart attack or something. So that's why VR could be dangerous to the people at the same time, because at the end of the day it's a world. It's though it's a virtual world, you are going into it, and whatever happens there will be carried out to the your real world also. सो हियर इज वन मोर एग्जांपल. ये बंदा शायद बाइक चला रहा है, रियल वर्ल्ड के बाइक पे बैठा है, और उसको वर्चुअल रियलिटी में वो कहीं बाइक चला रहा है वैसा एक्सपीरियंस दिया जा रहा है. So this is where VR bikes come into the picture, and China is very aggressive in this production, especially production of virtual bikes. सो अनदर हेल्दी एप्लीकेशन, आप घर में ही बैठ के वर्चुअल बाइक पे, जैसे वर्चुअल बाइक में क्या कर देते हैं, ये जो पैडल है उससे लगा हुआ पिछला टायर होता है, आगे वाला टायर तो कहीं कनेक्टेड नहीं होता, उसको उठा लेते हैं स्टैंड पे. तो आप कितना भी आप पैडलिंग करो, वो अंदर डिकोड कर लेता है और अकॉर्डिंगली वो मोमेंट सेंस करके आपको वर्चुअल वर्ल्ड में मोशन दे देता है, एंड देन यू कैन मूव अराउंड. अब आपको एक कार्टूनिश वर्ल्ड देखने की जरूरत नहीं है. देर आर मेनी एप्स विच शो यू द रियल वर्ल्ड ऑल्सो, एंड देन यू कैन एंजॉय द वर्चुअल साइकिल टूर्स, which is very important application of a virtual reality. So let me now go deep. This is the last topic for the day, which is a history of virtual reality. सो पहला वर्चुअल रियलिटी बनाया था 1955 में, कॉल्ड सेंसरोमा. सो सेंसरामा इज वन ऑफ द ओल्डेस्ट वर्चुअल रियलिटी सिस्टम, जहाँ पे हेड माउंटेड डिवाइस इतना बड़ा था. ओके तो आपका पूरा सर उस मशीन में जा रहा था, एंड एट दैट टाइम it was one of the best machine what we call 3D movies at that time, which was in 1955. उसके पहले का अगर देखने जाए तो 1960 में ही पेटेंट कर लिया गया था एचएमडी. सो यू कैन इमेजिन इसका पेटेंट खत्म भी हुआ 1980 में, और उसके बाद भी कोई रिप्रोड्यूस नहीं कर पाया था. सो यू कैन से देयर वाज अ 30 इयर्स गैप आफ्टर दैट आल्सो. सो टोटल जब से पेटेंट बनाए तब से 50 साल बाद असल में ये मास्क यूज होना शुरू हुआ है. और उस वक्त उसको वीआर या एचएमडी नहीं कहते थे, उस वक्त उसको टेलीस्फेयर मास्क कहते थे. सो बेसिकली बना तो वह वैसे ही था कि दोनों आंखों को अलग अलग व्यू दिए जाए, एंड आगे डिस्प्ले हो. उस वक्त मोबाइल वगैरह नहीं था, तो पीपल वेर थिंकिंग ऑफ अ डिस्प्लेस. So in 2007, the actual virtual reality started when there is a startup called Oculus. They were floated to the public, and their only aim was to make this HMD technology, which was there in 1980s for NASA and ISRO. now they want to bring it to the local public. So virtual reality becomes a reality, या फिर आप लोग भी इसको आप खरीद सकते हो. The only reason is Oculus ये पब्लिक स्टार्टअप था जिसमें लोगों ने पैसा डाला, और 2012 में उन्होंने एकदम सस्ता एचएमडी बना के पब्लिक में सेल करना शुरू किया. So that's where the journey of Oculus started, which is now a very big brand. And Oculus has brought the cost of the virtual reality with LCDs up to 20,000, which is pretty good, even less than a costly mobile phone. Then in 2016, there is a huge rise of consumers and HMDs, and three big companies came into the picture called Oculus. Second one is Sony, and third one is HTC. So HTC is selling the HMDs with the brand name of Vive, and Oculus has multiple things. Oculus Rift is one of the things, and then Sony has their Morpheus, which is now PS4, and these are the big names in virtual reality or virtual gaming industry, which is there since last 4 years or 5 years. So this is how you will summarize the entire history. First thing is 1957, the Sensoroma was there. Then Telesphere mask was patented in 1960. In 1961, there was a system with head sight designed by MIT engineers to have a actual moment and at the same time have the two displays along with the camera. सो अगर कोई कहता है कि वीआर सिस्टम नया है तो शो हिम दैट 1961 में आज जो सिस्टम है उससे एडवांस सिस्टम बन चुके थे. मे बी द कॉस्ट वाज $1 बिलियन एट द टाइम, जो कि अभी कॉस्ट रिडक्शन सच में हुआ है, पर अदर देन दैट टेक्नोलॉजी इज वेरी ओल्ड. देन सदरलैंड में व्हाट वी कॉल से 1965 में द अल्टीमेट डिस्प्ले लॉन्च हुआ था. इन 1984 द फर्स्ट हैप्टिक फीडबैक ग्लोव वाज डेवलप्ड, जिसमें वाइब्रेशन आते थे और आपके मोशन को वो कैप्चर कर लेता था. देन इन 1991 निंटेंडो ने वर्चुअल बॉय करके गेम लॉन्च किया था, विच वाज एग्जैक्ट रिप्लिका ऑफ 2016 PS4, बट उस वक्त वो हिट नहीं हुआ बिकॉज ऑफ इट्स कॉस्ट एंड द ग्राफिक्स वाज नॉट एज पावरफुल, और बहुत स्लो चलता था और लैग भी था. So in 1994, Sega VR was the last VR to get released. और उसके बाद सीधा गैप पड़ गया till 2007 when Oculus started, and then 2016 से असल में VR इंडस्ट्री पॉपुलर बन गई है. So अभी क्यों? Why not in 1960? Let's understand why the VR is important in the next lecture. So with that, I will stop the first lecture, and we will go for the attendance. And if you have any doubts, you can ask me.